everyone, it's Lauryn and Jordan, and today we are going to be painting and drawing birds the best. But first, if your studio habits need a kick in the butt, Art Prof has everything you need: critiques, tutorials, and professional development. So, Jordan, what's your favorite bird?
Favorite bird? I was a fan of Fruit Loops as a kid, so maybe toucans.
I like toucans.
Yeah, they're just nice and it's just fun. Or parrots. Parrots are cool too. I need to practice drawing birds a little bit more, though. I got to be honest. But yeah. What about you?
Yeah,
What's your?
same.
Well, I guess we all know your favorite bird, huh?
Yeah, I've got lots of favorite birds, but I just had to do my favorite of all time today. I'm doing geese, and I'm very excited for this Canada goose experience.
Nice. And also, we just want to say that this video is sponsored by Magellan TV.
Documentary streaming membership founded by filmmakers. Magellan's filmmakers believe that history is the best way to understand who and what we're going to be in the future. Magellan documentaries have the richest and most varied history content available anywhere. Everything from ancient, modern, current, early modern, war, biography, and also other genres like science and true crime. This diverse range of topics brings the past to life in a compelling manner. The team of producers and curators at Magellan TV scour the world for the very best documentary content and the smartest, most articulate perspectives. There are over 3,000 documentaries to choose from at Magellan TV, with a mission to tell the great stories that have defined the human experience. Magellan TV has so many choices, you'll quickly find yourself hooked. New programs are added on a weekly basis. There's even a growing selection of shows available in 4K without additional cost. Magellan TV documentaries have no ads and no commercial interruptions. I watched Ancient Angkor, City of Temples. This documentary was packed with powerful stories from history and phenomenal visuals of architecture, objects, and landscapes. You'll get deep insight into the ancient temples that were lost for centuries and later discovered by French explorers in 1860. Magellan TV is easy to use. Watch it on any device or connected TV, or you can even cast from your phone to your TV. Get a one-month free trial to Magellan TV by clicking on the link in the YouTube video description below.
Welcome back, everyone.
Gonna watch some TV while I'm painting here.
It's always fun. All right. Well, I know we're supposed to be painting, but I think I'm gonna start with my sketch first.
Yeah. I had the same thought as you, Jordan, to begin with, to draw out my picture first, but I don't know. I was just too lazy, so I'm gonna try to paint straight onto the Yupo. I'm gonna use the Yupo again today, guys.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll show two different methods here. Yours probably works better. I'm terrible at just freestyling painting. Usually I'm like you. I gotta sketch everything out, at least in like a thumbnail first, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, I think better in line usually. So it helps me to be able to just at least lay everything down. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe as I get further in, I'll get more comfortable and I'll just I'll skip or something.
Start going.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna you start going. I left my retarder on this end here.
Okay, I only heard like the first 2 seconds of what you said, but real quick, guys, just so you know, I am using the Wacom 22 HD Cintiq, and I am absolutely in love with it. It's so great. And it replaced my previous one. I had a Cintiq before, but this one is so nice and new and everything. So I'm happy I get to demonstrate for you all how to use it and the program.
You'll see.
So Sorry, Lauren. One day.
One day.
But I'm also using Photoshop for those who are curious as to what program I'm working with.
And where can people find our reference photos if they want to paint along? Are those in the Discord?
Well, they're in the video description.
Oh, yes, that's it.
And we also have a Flickr account where you can find access to more of our photos. But yeah, so definitely draw along with us, guys. Love to see some of your artwork.
Yeah, what birds are you guys either drawing or painting today? I'm curious. I'm always curious about the birds. Look at all this brown. So much brown. I'm just going really quickly. Gonna make something up.
Seven Angelic is saying acrylic on Yupo. Wouldn't have thought of that. Does it stick okay?
Yes, it does. That's kind of amazing, right? I've tried a few things. I don't know about super thick paint, but definitely the thin stuff, it's been totally fine. Actually, Yupo, even though it's very slick, the surface has a tackiness to it that holds the acrylic really well, and it dries super quickly. It dries faster than my experience with acrylic on Mylar. So I highly recommend it. And what I'm doing right now, just in case people are wondering, is I'm putting down an underpainting. This is really quick and dirty. I'm just covering the canvas. I've got this raw, I believe it's raw sienna. I lost the paint already, but I put in some extender and some retarder in it so it comes out very translucent. And then I am going to pull it away with a rag. The extender makes it so that it stays wet, but I also have a spray bottle here just in case I need to rehydrate it to pull it off the page. Okay, let's see. Yes. Okay, I have so many goose photos here, I don't even know where to choose from. I really it's too much. I want to do several. Again, this is the issue of not drawing things out first. But so I don't know how I'm going to arrange them. So I'm just going to do like a goose collage, if you will.
Ooh.
So we'll see how it goes.
Goose
maybe
collage.
2 geese.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I have. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm filling in like some pink for the flamingo, but as a little base. But now I'm gonna see how I can mix in some of the lighting because there's some orange and there's some yellows in the reference photo. So we're just gonna see. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I love that contrast. I know you're not going to keep it, but I love that contrast of the super bright pink on top of that. I don't know what you would call it, a warm gray. I think that's really beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. That was, I honestly, whenever I start working on something like this with color, I try to put it on just a neutral background. It just helps me to think a lot easier. But, yeah. In
some ways, we're almost doing the same thing, just in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm putting down a neutral background too while I put on this drawing, and eventually it's going to be painted over. It's not going to stay brown forever. But this helps me figure stuff out. I love how proud and bulky they are. I love their silly necks. They're so funny.
They're silly necks.
Yeah, they have silly necks. They make them go really tall and really squat, and they're funny birds. They're so proud and they're so lowly, humble at the same time. And I think that it's just I guess that's almost their humanness. They have a human quality to them that I think people are drawn to.
Hmm.
That's my thoughts on geese.
I just remember being terrified by them every time I go near them because I think they like to threaten me specifically as if I'm intentionally trying to hurt them. So I just kind of mind my business and stay away.
That's as it should be. They are terrifying creatures when they have their babies. Oh. Mimi or Mama Wolf says, I have a friend who likes ducks purely because they look, and I quote, weird and dumb. I feel like that's a valid reason to like birds, though. It's kind of how I feel about a green heron. They also look weird and dumb. Or a bird, if you don't know, if you don't have this bird around you, you can look it up. It's called the woodcock, and its nickname is the timberdoodle. And it looks like a football with a long beak and eyes, and it goes. Seven Angelic says geese are aggro, though you do not mess with them around here. My friends have nicknamed them cobra chickens.
Oh, that's epic!
Yes, with their snaky necks.
Cobra chickens. That's such a cool name.
That is. It's like saying it's like saying a raccoon is a trash panda or something.
That's another cool one. Okay. You know, speaking of raccoons, I was rewatching a scene from The Incredibles 2 where Jack is fighting the raccoon, and it's the best scene ever. For those who've seen it, oh my! I know
which scene you're talking about.
It's
that's wild.
It's so funny. But
Jordan, what brush are you using before we get further into the Incredibles and raccoons?
I'm using a Kyle Webster brush, I believe. It's called Oil Canvas 2. And I'm actually just kind of experimenting right now. I wasn't really sure which brush to use, but it creates this sort of canvasy sort of texture. You guys can kind of see that. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm not really sure how it's going to be, but so far it doesn't look too bad. So yes.
Rocco's asking, how do you think about digital colors versus traditional? You can't mix them in the same way. So how do you select your shades? Good question.
So actually you can mix them digitally. There's a tool called the mixture brush, and I'm not using that, but you can mix it much like traditional paint. But to answer your question, I try to think of just hue, saturation, value. We've talked about it on several previous streams, and I try to think about local color versus how it's being affected by the lighting, the relationships between color, and I also try to keep in mind that with digital, there are certain things that I can do to enhance the piece. So let's say I can't get a saturated color with a traditional paint, but I want to pump it up a little bit more in the digital piece. That's an option that I have, and it's very easy to do that. So so yeah, a lot of it's just experimenting and figuring out how the tool works, but I do rely a lot on traditional principles.
I think that you just have so many more options in digital, and for some people that can feel almost overwhelming. Like you're not limited by some of the traditional media hangups, say mixing too many colors into each other and then you can't get it unmuddy. It's just stuck like that. So you have to mix a new color, and you can go back and do things. I think that that's the cool part, but I can see how it could be difficult.
W.C. Lee Art says, can you use low opacity to create glazes to optically mix too? Yeah, you can use a lower opacity. So I don't think you guys can't see the option on my screen, but right now my opacity, my brush is 40%. Let's say I pick the background gray just because it's so different, and I glaze over it. That's 40%, and if I switch it to 100%, it looks like that. So you can get a variety of different types of mixes and all that. Then there's also the smudge brush. There's different types of brushes. It's like an infinite. It's like you have a vault and just infinite resources at your disposal, and that's where you just experiment and have fun. So that's what I'm trying to do here on the stream, is just figure it out. I don't think there's any one set answer or even a exact result I'm looking to achieve at this point.
Yeah, and Kind of same. I've really used these streams to practice things, to have fun rather than do something real fancy. Caspa Life is asking, Lauryn, would you recommend doing an underpainting for acrylic? So for me, yes. It was very helpful for me to do an underpainting because especially when I move up in size on a piece, I have a hard time translating scale. I tend to work pretty small. So it helps me figure out planning, especially from the little thumbnails that I do up into regular piece. It gets me moving. But not everybody needs to do an underpainting. I actually know more artists that don't use underpaintings than do use underpaintings. It really just depends on how you feel approaching a work. This is kind of like a training wheels for me. That being said, it's not wrong to do that. It's super useful, and if you get anxious painting, I would recommend it.
I know that last question wasn't directed towards me, but I think that there's a lot of times where when we're first learning, we try to copy or mimic what other people do. And that is very helpful in a lot of situations. But I also want to encourage you guys to explore and figure things out yourself because, you know, like Lauryn and I, even though we're really cool when we're on the stream with you guys, we think differently. We approach art differently. And so when you're looking at someone's art that you appreciate, throw in some of your own spin in there and make sure you start to, you know, see what it is that makes you tick. I think that will really help you to become a more well-rounded artist as well. Absolutely.
That brings up a point too, that I'm really approaching this underpainting in a very specific way. I'm doing a removal where you put down your layer and then you take away the paint to make the drawing. But actually most underpaintings that I have seen are the opposite, where you're drawing out your sketch and you're filling in your tones in one color, but it's additive rather than subtractive. So there are a million ways to approach it. Jordan, does the smudge brush in Photoshop act the exact same way as the smudge brush in Procreate?
I'll be honest, I don't even really use the smudge brush in either, but they, I'm pretty sure they're like the exact same. There's nothing that I can think of that is any different. I mean, and for those who don't know what the smudge brush is, it's exactly what it sounds like. So instead of painting it, I can just smudge the whole thing like this. So I'm not putting on any new paint or pigment, but it's affecting it. So that's what it does. Yeah.
Cool. Gecko. What's the difference between an underpainting and just starting a painting out roughly? Well, I'd say in my limited experience that those two things can be basically the same. Generally, when I'm thinking about underpainting, I think, oh, it's all basically in one color. It's mostly focused on tone and placement. It's not focused on, I don't know. Some people go really into putting, I can use my contrast the way I previously painted. I would put down my big blocks of color of all the different colors, starting with the biggest shapes. And I was not necessarily thinking about the overall painting and how it all fit together. I was just pulling out my biggest shapes and putting them on the canvas. And that wasn't really underpainting. That was, hey, I'm just approaching this painting and putting stuff down.
Raka says, the smudge brush reminds me of when we were bored in the computer lab in school and messed around with MS Paint.
Yes.
The good old days, MS Paint.
I miss MS Paint.
You know, when I was a kid, I forget what program it was called. I found the name of it years later, but there was an undo button, and whenever you hit it, it was like a happy face, but then it would say stuff to you. And it would be like, uh-oh, or like say all this really slick stuff. My favorite one, it'd start going like, I made a boo-boo, yeah. It was the best.
Wait, was that a program from the 90s? Like a long time ago?
It was
I think I remember that. It made sounds for everything that you did, right?
Yeah, and the UI was like purplish or something, like a dark purple.
Was there an exploding thing that you could do, like explode the canvas?
Probably. I mean, yeah, this is like 15 years ago in my mind. So
yeah, this is a long time ago. I don't think that's existed since I was a kid.
Yeah, but it was just so great. And I remember like intentionally pressing undo just so I could hear it saying I made a boo-boo yeah again. Because when you're 6 years old, that's funny, you know. It's
that's
still
the
funny.
Funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Oh man, now my paint started drying, which means that I need to move on. I need to start putting in color.
Let's see. Claire is asking, Jordan, can you explain what the factors you consider when deciding whether to use Photoshop versus Procreate? Is it when you want a different look, or is it simply a tech reason? A lot of it is just tech. Like Photoshop, since it's attached to a computer, there's much more space that you can use. Procreate has a limited number of layers, and you know it's a limited program, even though you can do so much with it. Photoshop doesn't really have those limitations, and it has more options. So it really just depends on how I want to do it. Personally, I actually like drawing more in Procreate and painting more in Photoshop. That's kind of how I separate it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Gives me a better idea. Kid Pics, that's it.
That was it. Thank you.
That was it.
That was it.
Oh man. I think about Kid Pics all the time. Well, not all the time, but frequently enough to wonder what that was and where it went. Thank you for that.
So much fun. All right,
yeah,
that's
what a good time.
I'm done with that.
Oh, if any of you are interested, today I am using these really nice, glorious tubes of Winsor Newton acrylic. And also Winsor Newton acrylic mediums. And while I've used a lot of these mediums before, this brand is a little bit new to me. So we're gonna have some fun with some sand texture gel. Got to figure out where I can put this in my geese. And then my favorite ever is the gloss gel. I love the way that my paint looks using gloss gel. It makes it look like oil sometimes. Ooh, it's got a seal on it. So we'll see how this goes. Oh no, I stuck my finger in it.
I made a boo-boo.
Oh, my fingers feel fatty now. This is such a fatty medium. Photoshop used to have a little wizard that said "Be gone" as an Easter egg.
Really?
Missed that. Which number Photoshop? Which edition?
Yeah, I don't know, but now I need to find it. If it's still there, I need to know. It's a good color for this.
Be gone. I'll say that every time I demolish something in paint. Oh man, this is so nice. Look at this. You can't really get a good sense of how lovely this is. It's like coconut fat or something. Coconut
Yeah, I was about
butter?
to say, like, it looks like coconut oil.
Yeah. And put it on my skin. Exfoliate. Is that what you do with coconut butter? Put it in my food.
I put it on my hair. I've brushed my teeth with it before.
You can brush your teeth with it?
You can do like anything with it. Like you can use it as deodorant. You can use it as, you know, like a lotion or a moisturizer. You can put it in your hair. Like seriously, there's like 100 uses. I don't even know all of them.
It's like apple cider vinegar. It's
Basically.
a panacea.
Right, or baking soda, yeah.
Column Cuke is asking why I'm using Yupo instead of mixed media paper or canvas. So I'm using Yupo because I'm just really enjoying. I'm on a Yupo kick right now, guys. I have so much Yupo. I want to try all of the things. It's just here, it's easy. Canvas, if I'm going to use canvas, we did that with oil paint last time, so I'm kind of saving those for a little bit heavier duty painting than what I'm doing here. And just generally speaking, I don't really like working on paper with paint because it gets very absorbs it in a way that I don't love. I do use Arch's watercolor paint for acrylic painting sometimes, but I just think that Yupo is kind of the best of both worlds and does things that I can't really get on canvas or paper. So I'm gonna mix some of this medium. Don't listen to the amounts that I put in. I know it'll say recommendations on the back of these paints, like only put in 1 part extender and 8 parts paint or something like that. And I never follow those, and I probably should. But sometimes you just want a very specific texture, so you just put in a little bit of everything and make a mess. Look at this color. This is a great color.
Is that your favorite part about art, is making a mess, Lauren?
I'm actually not a messy painter. My roommate's an extremely messy painter, and he knows that it drives me up the wall. But I do unabashedly have quite a mess behind me. I think it's just unavoidable to be messy if you're painting, to an extent.
I used to wear gloves in school because I didn't want to.
That's something that is best practices, and I wish that I did that, but I'm not that good a person.
Well, for me, when I was in school, I would just get irritated because at the end of the day, you know, if anyone's been to art school, you know that some of those classes are like 8 hours long, right? And so you're done with your painting for the day, and all 20 students line up to wash their hands with the like exfoliating soap or whatever to get all the paint off. And I'm like, why do I want to sit in line? I'm hungry, and for 30 minutes just waiting to wash my hands. And so I would just wear gloves. And so I would just be like, shh. I was able to go to the bathroom with regular soap, wash my hands, and I was out there in like 10 minutes, and we're good.
That's so smart. You're just smart. I wasn't that well prepared.
I think it was more annoyance than intelligence. But thank you.
I don't know. Oh, this is why I don't wear gloves. I do have a reason for not wearing gloves. I can't feel what I'm doing. There's a certain tactility that I need to have where my fingertips actually touch the brush. I know that sounds really picky and bellyachy, and it probably is, but it feels like I'm blind. It feels like my fingers are blind, and I dislike that.
Huh. Interesting.
I need a blue. I don't have a blue on me. I'm gonna grab one.
Oh, this one's for you, Lauren. WC Lee Art says, wonder how alcohol markers do on Yupo.
They do okay. They do a weird thing sometimes. They get a little beady, where the paint collects a little bit. So I've had that happen sometimes when my alcohol markers are maybe too juiced up, but in general, they have a pretty even quality on Yupo. It works. Okay, I just need a blue. Okay, got one. So bad. You guys should see this desk here. You'd think I'd have enough paints to work with, but it's never enough. Should be a challenge sometime, is to only use the things I have on my table.
That wouldn't even be a fair challenge for someone like me using Photoshop, huh?
No, you have it all on your table already. It's no fair.
Right?
I do that with markers. I say I'm only going to use 5, and that's it. And then I usually end up using 10 or so. Use a lot more than I start out with. I'm using really thin layers right now. I kind of love this though. This is that optical mixing stuff that I am obsessed with. You can see all this light. I'll have to figure out where to put this. I think I'm going to put the sand gel in the rock and in the feathers.
The sand gel in the What?
I've got some sand medium that's just sand texture gel. I use this on small paintings, some small paintings where I'm experimenting with mediums, but I'm not super, hang on, I'm gonna see what this even looks like. Texture is one of those things where I'm just really obsessed with the texture and need to put it or want to put it somewhere and show that it's its thing, but never know how to actually integrate it into the painting to make it feel as if it is part of the painting's foundation and not glitz on top. So this is going to be interesting.
Our prof is asking Lauryn, how thick is the sand gel? Is the sand very fine or is it more coarse?
This one, it seems pretty fine. It depends on what medium you're using. Now, when I was picking out mediums, there was just one sand gel on there, but some companies also have multiple coarsenesses of sand gel or glass bead gel that they'll list, and you can get a little sample thing that you can feel. Usually you'll find those in the art stores. This is about the consistency of, say, exfoliating gel that you put on your face and it has little bits of pumice in it or whatever. This is about that level of coarseness where it's pretty fine, but if you say rub it between your fingers a lot, you feel it. Which is actually perfect for me. I'm excited.
Lauryn, how do you feel about texture? Wait, how do you feel about textures that what they call materiality?
Materiality. I think that I love pieces that are about materiality, but it's just because I love tactility. I like to feel things. But generally speaking, I feel like there's got to be a reason for doing it. Well, no, experimenting is fine. Experimenting is really cool. But I think that you want to do something with it. I think the artists that use those kinds of experiments in modern art, they were working with form and function and the surface. It was all about the surface of one's canvas and how far you could push that. And so that was their reason for using materiality and texture. And now we have to find new reasons for that in this age of painting. Maybe it's part of the body that you're trying to convey. I hear the body a lot in materiality, or I don't know. Maybe it's part of your narrative in some way. Maybe that reminds me, the first time I used sand gel was actually, I picked up some ash when I was in Iceland from the exploding volcano in 2012, Eyjafjallajökull, and I used that. I mixed that with some mediums, with some gel medium that I had, and I would use that in paintings of the volcano, which is maybe a little bit on the nose, but it was really fun at the time. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to try using the sand gel on this rock here. I don't think I'm going to have to build it up a lot. I'm just taking a straight up glob of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I'm like, we're just gonna see.
It's just gonna happen.
Yep.
Okay, this is a good opportunity. This is something that I love about using a sand gel type thing. If you use a medium with really heavy body or a really particular texture, you can do a thing called figure ground reversal. And that is when your background has all of the presence, all the intensity, and the figure or the subject is created out of the negative shape of that. So right now what I'm doing is, what that looks like in practice is I'm putting down this very thick layer on the rock and it's standing up off the canvas, but the goose's head has no paint on it at all, or barely any paint. It's made up of that negative shape cut into the rock. this is just not going to dry. I could put some blue in here too. That would be nice.
W. Seeley Art, how does the sand gel compare to adding marble dust or pumice to the paint?
So I'd say marble dust, the marble dust that I've used is finer than the sand gel. The pumice that I've used is a little bit coarser than this gel here. This is, I'd say, this is between medium and fine for me, what I'm using right now. Kind of don't think that this is going to dry before the end of our stream, but that's okay. That's fine.
The luxury of being an artist, huh?
Yeah, the luxury of being in my studio. You don't have to pack this up and take it somewhere. The luxury of you working with Photoshop. Nothing that you do has to dry.
That is true. That is true. That is a bonus. Doesn't mean it takes any less time, but that is a bonus to have that for sure.
Lauryn, do you ever paint with palette knife when your paint gets thick with the acrylic mediums, or is it okay to just paint with brushes when using the acrylic mediums? You can use either. I haven't, so the one palette knife that I have right now is a mixing palette knife. It's not really one it's not got that step in it. You know how those other palette knives look like, where they have the stick and then they have this drop and then they have the knife. And so I'll use those types for actually palette knifing on canvas, but I don't have one of those right now. So I'm just not going there. I'm just using brushes. I need some black. I didn't put some black in yet. I'm using black. This is the color that supposedly you're not allowed to use as a student, but I'm going to use it.
Ooh.
Look at that.
You're going to get in so much trouble, Lauryn.
I'm getting in so much trouble. I need some contrast here.
I say that as I'm literally painting with black.
I love your seagull. It's so cute.
Oh, thanks.
I love that reference photo too, to be honest. That seagull looks like it's waiting for trouble.
Yeah, it looks like one of the seagulls that's out for your snacks.
It wants your fries.
Fries, sandwich, whatever it is, he wants it. Or she.
Yep. I don't know. I don't know what's it called? The dimorphism between male and female seagulls.
I definitely don't.
They look the same to me.
Yeah, same here. I don't know.
Jack of all trades is asking, any way to make acrylic transparent? Yes. So you can do two things. You can add, well, some paints are naturally transparent. Any of your phthalos, alizarin crimson, anything that's not cad or cobalt, really, I feel like, already has a certain level of transparency, but you can either add water or extender to your paint to get that real transparent layer. Now, technically you want to go with the extender because that will, I think, help your paints stay archival over time. But water is not going to kill you, especially if you're not adding it that much. There's already water in your paints, in your acrylic paints, when you get them. And you have to, especially if you're acrylic painting over a long period of time, you will have to rehydrate your palette, because it's going to be drying over time. So you just add water to it, mix it back up to its previous consistency. That water evaporates out of the paint over time.
Jordan, can you zoom in more so we can see what your brush is doing better? I can't. Okay, so I'm about to start drawing now. The thing with zooming in too much, I found out, is it makes it harder to see the whole picture when you're painting. So that's why I was zoomed out so much. So, but if you want to see what I was doing with the bird, very rough sketch. That's what I did there. But it's just, it's one of those things where, like, you've heard us talk about, hey, when you're painting, you know, step back from your canvas. It's the same kind of thing with zooming in too much. So if I'm constantly drawing or painting, I'm like this all the time, and this is me making random shapes. I'm not doing anything in particular, but you know, that versus this gives you a much easier view of what you're doing. So yeah, but I'll try and be better for this next one. I'm gonna do a duck now.
You're moving so fast. You're so good at that.
Well, part of it is I just kind of get sick of it. I'm like, whatever. Didn't come out the way I wanted.
Done with the bird.
Yeah, moving on. Calm Cuke says, Lauryn, what are some of your favorite acrylic paint colors?
Ooh, well, I always mention this one, but it's my favorite of all time. It's called Nickel Azo Yellow, or Nickel Azo Yellow Gold. Here, I have this one, and it just makes this beautiful, luscious, talk about transparent paints, actually. It makes a glorious transparent color like this, nice and warm. I add it to all my paintings. I use it as an underpainting all the time. It comes in a range depending on your brand and what exact mix you're getting. It comes in a range from yellow gold to almost an orange or coppery kind of color. That's my favorite paint of all time right now.
Right now?
Right now. I go through, you know, one time my favorite color was cadmium red medium, because that was the reddest red. You know, you can't really get a red redder than that red. It's so opaque and it's so strong. It just has such a strong personality. Digital painting is far faster than traditional. That's what UL is saying. Do you agree with that, Jordan?
I don't know. I've seen both done really quickly. Like I've seen people do a digital painting that takes weeks or months and it looks great, and people who do the same, who work on a painting traditionally for weeks or months and looks awful. I think it really depends on the skill level more than anything. It obviously doesn't have the drying time associated with it, or like, you know, pulling a canvas or stretching a canvas. I mean, so there's that, but it really is all about skill level, in my opinion. So, yeah, I wouldn't go out on a limb and say every single time someone does it digitally, it's going to be faster.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't you do a painting not too long ago that was taking you weeks and weeks and weeks? It was that digital portrait, or one of your digital, the ones you were doing for practice took you, it seemed like a really long time to complete.
Yeah, that whatever painting you're talking about, I definitely post on my Instagram, because I post almost all of them on there. But there's definitely some that just take me a long time, and you know, unless I specifically time myself for it. But I really try not to worry about time so much, especially when it's just practice. If there's a deadline, I'm doing this for a client, that's one thing. But if it's for myself, that for me, my goal is just to learn as much as I can, get as good as I can. And then when I've learned what I've needed to, I'll move on to the next one.
Sounds like a good way to think. Don't worry about production. Don't worry about time.
Yeah. Until someone's paying you.
Then
yeah. That changes. WC Lee Art, no, I find that digital pulls you into working on endless details. That's possible too. It's, you know, that's kind of what I was saying earlier about zooming in. Like I could, like if I was worried about this eye, I could zoom in. That's as far as I can zoom in right there, you know, and you can see all the little pixels. Even if I did this, there's no way that's really going to affect anything. So that does tend to happen to people. So yeah, just be wise about it. Zoom out. Look at the big overall picture. It's the same principles in traditional. It's just you're working on a different screen. I think that's what some people don't realize, is that all the principles that come with traditional painting, all the stuff that Lauren's telling you guys, these apply to digital. It's just a different approach. It's just a different way of thinking about it. So they aren't as separate as most people think they are.
I'm mixing up some green right now. This is bismuth yellow, which is a new color that I'm working with. It's kind of a cold yellow, so a little bit lemony. And I wanted to get a good green for all the algae that's growing around my geese. I'm kind of doing the background first. That kind of, I was hoping doing the background first would maybe inform what colors I want my geese to be, because even though I'm working with neutrals, if I'm going with straight up what I'm seeing the geese in my reference photos, it's going to be very dull. And I want, instead of just creating exactly what I see from my photos, I want it to jive with the painting that I'm making. So my geese have yellow in them. Do they have yellow in real life? No, but I'm gonna hopefully make it make sense here.
Go, Lauren, go.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see.
W. Seeley art, our prof, especially if you have the tendency to zoom in a lot easily, hours gone on one small 1 inch square. Yeah, that happens very often, where if you just zoom in, you focus on a little area, you zoom out, and then you realize you only affected 0.08% of your painting. And it's like, what's the point? So my personal recommendation for those who are working digitally is stay zoomed out for as long as you can. And then when you can't possibly do any more without, getting into these small details, then you can zoom in. Let's see. Calm Cuke says, digital painting for me is much slower than traditional because I can tweak it continuously. The ability to endlessly alter digital slows me down. Traditional me has a finite altering capacity. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I've tweaked so many traditional paintings too. Lauren, you paint more traditionally than I do. What do you think? Can you tirelessly work on a piece?
Yeah, you repaint it over and over and over again, or you're just, I'll be the first to admit that I'm just sitting inside of a single area painting an exhaustive pattern that doesn't affect the rest of the piece at all. I just got so wrapped up in it. So I think the same traps exist for traditional.
Yeah. I think a lot of the battle with traditional is just really a mindset thing.
Yeah.
I think people view it as something that's going to fix all the problems, or that there's some sort of make art button. And it's not the case. I know I actually noticed that people who are really good at painting traditionally can transition very well into using a digital tool. Like, all they need to do is learn how the software works, and they're good. They're fine.
Interesting.
There's an artist named Nathan Fowkes. I've brought him up several times on streams, and he did background paintings for The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado, and DreamWorks movies like that. And he was a traditional painter, but eventually the industry started going to doing more digital stuff, and he took a couple weeks to learn the software, and he is an expert in both now. And so yeah, he's set for life basically when it comes to that.
I think, yeah, what you're saying is that you got to have a good foundation either way, and also you have to know how to learn. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you're an artist, you're developing good work habits and good observational habits that are more than just about observing how someone else paints or the world around you or whatever, but just how you learn, how you progress through a piece. And those things are infinitely translatable to many different mediums.
Right. Yeah, like when you guys are just learning digital, just treat it as a brand new tool. Don't think of it as anything else. It's just a different tool.
Exactly.
our prof is saying, Lauryn, are you making a background with space for the geese to sit in, or is it more abstract?
Yeah, they're sitting in space. I don't know. I guess you can't really see it yet. This one on the top is sitting on a rock. This is a rock that I've just made up. And this one is sitting in some weeds and some grass. And I know I've done a bad thing that you're not supposed to do, where you don't paint the feet. But in my defense, this goose is going to be behind reeds that are coming up. I will paint the feet. I just need to paint them light because I don't want that dark showing through a lot when I paint over it. This one, you can see its little foot there. It's this dark color. My yellow is not very opaque, so I have to figure out a way to just make it so it'll cover up some areas on this goose. This is really fun, though. Oh, the other reason I like the Yupo is because it gives me a record of my brush strokes. I think sometimes canvas, it can, and paper too, it can all just get really opaque fast. I lose my hand. And the Yupo, this wiping away, you can see every mark that I've made, and I kind of love that. Jordan, even though you do a ton of character design, do you find learning to draw animals important for concept art?
Yes. I'll be the first to admit that I don't draw animals as much as I do characters, or as much as I should. I'm slowly switching that up, actually. Here, I'll show you this real quick. I've been doing a bunch of reptile and amphibian drawings lately, traditionally. So getting my practice in. But it is important because there are so many projects that require animals as the main characters, like Zootopia, right? Like that movie's all animals, or you know, a lot of Pixar, like Finding Nemo. You know, it might be a video game or wherever the case is. So yes, I would definitely say you need to learn how to understand animal anatomy.
A lot of kids' things have animals in them.
Yeah, and not only that too, but like let's say you're working on Stranger Things and you're designing the Demogorgon monster. Like some of that stuff is like a lot of what they'll do for designing monsters and stuff is they will take pieces of different animals and put them into a new monster and creature. And so, you know, like maybe you want your creature to have hind legs or something, but it's got a humanoid body. So now you can mix and morph them, or anything from Star Wars, you know, like there's so many options. So it's super important.
I was just thinking of the animals from, not the animals, there's that show, The Nevers, that just came out a little bit ago. I don't know. I just started watching it. And there's the Galanthe, which is an alien that in the behind the scenes they talk about was designed from looking at an elephant and an octopus together. And that, you use animal references all the time to come up with say, alien creatures, or even machines, even mechas sometimes have animal inspirations.
Oh yeah. There was actually, I had a classmate one time who designed like a car type of thing. It was some sort of vehicle, but it looked like a frog. And like the top of the frog was like where you sit and everything, and the headlights were the eyes, and it was just really fun and creative. But totally inspired by animals. So I would learn, if I were to give any advice, I would just say learn as much as you can about everything you can, whether it's, you know, technology, vehicles, animals, humans, construction equipment, whatever it is, and allow that to influence your work.
I should draw more construction equipment from life.
It's not my favorite thing to do, I'll admit freely.
No, but it's around. There's so much of it. It's a part of our world.
Yep. Can't avoid it.
Okay, I'm using a palette knife because Clara told me to.
Love the honesty.
It's not ideal, but it's kind of doing a thing. Also, I found that this gloss gel has maybe too much give to it, so I need to, yeah, the brush isn't going to work so well. I can't get a clump of it on there, so I'm just going to do it. This saves time to do it with my palette knife. Also, I'm just really not in the headspace yet to draw 5 million feathers.
There we go.
This goose looks like fire! It's on fire. Very orange. Okay. And then this one in the back's going to be darker. Wow, you really can't see the colors on the screen that well. This goose is so bright, but in the picture, it really doesn't look that bright at all. Huh.
Yeah, that happens. I noticed. Even me working digitally, like there's a slight difference in the colors on mine versus what I'm seeing on the stream. That's all good. You guys can understand.
We'll work with it.
Yep.
Let's see, I've got some iridescent gel. I can put that, I put some gloss gel. You guys can't see this very well, but my goose necks are extremely glossy, which I love, but now I'm going to put some iridescent gel, iridescent medium on top. And, oh, check this out. Probably can't see that. It's right there on the side there. It looks like chrome.
Ooh.
Now, I love iridescent medium. I love it very much. But the issue that I have with it is when you mix it with a paint, there's almost no effect. It doesn't make it super metallic or anything like that. It just gets swallowed up inside. It has very low tinting ability. So I almost always just use it right on top. Oh, and now this goose. So the white is going to dry clear. And all that you will be able to see is how shiny this goose is in the light. It's going to be so shiny. I think all geese should be a little bit shiny. They're magic.
That sounded like a Bob Ross statement, actually.
All geese should be shiny, or they're magic?
Both, actually, but I was specifically referring to the shiny one. But it just sounds like something nice you would say, like, all geese should be shiny, you know? I could hear it.
I can hear it too. I like it. Oh man, I love. Oh wow, they look really shiny in this picture here. They're not as shiny, but I enjoy that. Okay, so now I'm gonna follow the underpainting maybe a little bit less. Oh, why did that open up? Go away. Sometimes when I press these earbuds, when my ear itches, it opens up the music app and I don't know why. There, much better. This goose has the right size head and it looks positively mischievous.
Ooh, mischievous.
It's the mischievous goose. Really, you can paint a goose however you want. There are three things you need to know about painting geese. One, doesn't matter what the feathers look like, you gotta get the necks right if it's a Canada goose. As long as the black markings are right, it doesn't matter. And two, it's gotta have a goose beak. A goose beak is not a duck beak, they look different. A goose has a wedge, a duck has a flat bill. And three, you have to make them look super proud. They always have a bump on their chest. That's the whole aura of the goose, is how proud it looks. Okay, I'm done. There's a comment from maybe a wolf again that says, I've had this thought of mixing glitter with my paints, but I think I should just buy the iridescent medium. Either works. In the stream that we did, the abstract stream, we used some glitter, and that it just has a slightly different effect. The glitter is very wow. The iridescent, I would say, is less strong, generally speaking, than the glitter. Like you can still see the glare through the paint. But I am looking at this iridescent medium drying right now. I'm actually pretty impressed. I think this is probably the best iridescent medium I've used. It's got good staying power. Okay. My image went away on my phone. There.
This duck isn't actually coming out too bad. I'm kind of feeling it.
Jane is saying, I'm excited to see how Lauryn does the feathers. I'm really just almost skipping over the feathers. I'm sorry, that makes me so...
Why are you skipping over the feathers?
I'm not skipping over them. I just... So... With paint, it's more about the movement of the goose and less about any individual feathers. So really I'm painting it towards how the goose's body is moving. Like all these feathers are moving kind of at like a 3/4 angle away. And then with this goose, his body's very round, or her body is very round. So I'm making it all shaped sort of roundish, but I haven't been painting individual feathers. Although I do kind of want to get into some of the nuts and bolts on this one. I'm looking for a good brown. I'm not very good at using browns. I'm trying to learn.
Browns are tricky.
They are. They're really tricky. I got all these browns because it's the one color on the color wheel that I have no experience with at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Why do you think that is? Is it purposeful avoidance, or is it just, what do you know? I haven't used any brown.
Kind of both. I mean, I came to neutrals late in my painting career, I guess. And I started with grays. I think grays are simpler a little bit because they fall really under neutral territory. Browns are a mix of other colors. And so really it's not just that you're dealing with brown, you're dealing with a lot of colors inside of a brown. Like think of that browny green color that yellow plus black makes. That's such a complex color that's hard to use. So I am just confused often by it.
Hmm.
But I need to learn it. It's such an important set of color.
I know someone who never used pink before in their work until they were like 20 or 21.
Wow.
And until a teacher told them to, and now they use pink in like everything. It's like part of what he's known for now.
That's kind of a thing too, though, you know, is that in order to get really good at a color, you have to, I think, fall in love with the color. And to fall in love with the color, you have to use it a bajillion times. So I often find that I'll go through phases of particular colors where I'm only making purple paintings, or I'm only making brown paintings or yellow paintings, whatever else. I use some of this brown actually. That's a very nice duck, just floating in the water.
Thanks.
It's very sweet.
Yeah, he seems like a little friendly guy. I like ducks because they just always are so friendly to me.
They are. They're the friendly of the waterfowl species.
I know I told this story once on a stream, but one time I was eating lunch by the canal when I was still at RISD with a friend of mine, and this duck just came and sat on my jacket right next to me as I was eating lunch. And it wasn't like coming to eat my food, but he was just kind of chilling there, and he was like maybe less than a foot away from me. It was just like, oh, this is cool.
Just like, wow.
Yeah, but he didn't even quack. He was just like, I'm gonna hang out with this guy for an hour. Just for
That's
no
really
reason.
sweet.
Yeah. There's a picture of it somewhere out there online. Maybe I'll share it on my story or something.
You should. I like that. There was a pigeon. I put this in my story just a few days ago. There was a pigeon that was just hanging out on the steps on my subway stop. And I could just go over and pick that pigeon up if I wanted to. It was right there, right next to me. It was just looking at me like, whatever. It was very cute, but I was like, something wrong. Oh, Caspa Life says, I need to get me a pair of binoculars so I can see some of the birds in my backyard. There are blue jays, cardinals, and doves. There's also a large turkey who takes a walk back there. Yeah, I think that's like, generally speaking, unless you live in a wasteland or something, there's always a bird somewhere. The cities, you have pigeons and house sparrows, at least in this city, New York City. But in the suburbs and in rural areas, yeah, there are turkeys, they're everywhere. There's like lots of blue jays and crows. I love crows. Ravens. Like, they're there. You just have to know that they're there, if that makes sense. You have to have your eyes open for them. They're really easy to just look over or ignore. I'm just putting straight Naples yellow on here. This painting is very messy, very muddy. I'm gonna put some blue. There. So I feel like I'm almost cheating because we're painting birds here. Jordan's painted like 5 million birds, but you're only on your third bird.
Yeah.
But half of this painting, most of this painting has just been me painting the background of the bird.
Okay.
That's not a bird. That's just, it can be called painting birds with Jordan and painting grass with Lauryn.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's just how we interpret things. It's slightly different because I could see geese in your piece.
They're kind of there. This picture is really, I gotta fix the lighting or something. The lighting in the studio. I'm also gonna put this iridescent medium, So Intense, in a great way, but I'm just gonna put a little bit more black back into this. I perhaps overdid it.
Let's see.
Oh, that's better. That's a lot better. There. Love that friend.
Angie says, I live next to a pond and the ducks love to play with my dog whenever I go over there. They've been playing fetch with us. That's so cute.
Sweet. I love that. I
That's
love animals.
That's like those videos where you see like a pig playing with a cheetah. It's like what? Like, that's awesome.
Like, oh, animals can be nice to each other. It's just humans that aren't nice to each other.
Yeah. I saw a video yesterday and it was a human, or it was just a man. He was skipping with a cow. It was
Can
great.
cows skip?
Yeah, I guess so. This cow did. She was real happy.
That's news to me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she was just having fun. She's like, woohoo! Very cute.
I love it. Okay, there's going to be some purple in this painting now. Well, this is a red. Oh, I love that. I love that color. I don't know why this is in here. I didn't plan for it. Just felt the need. Oh, you guys can barely see that here. This is just a nice opaque color. This is violet iron oxide. There. Oh, Lauryn, do you varnish your acrylic paintings? Do you recommend it? I do not, although it is an option. It's probably maybe even a good option. Acrylic paintings, since they're made out of plastic, they acquire dust over time, and it's really annoying. You can't just like wash off your painting because it is water-based and you want to be careful. I mean, I'm sure you could try like a damp rag or whatever, but it's very frustrating trying to get all the grime off. And I think varnishing is supposed to help in preserving that. Wow, I love this red. I should have used this on the whole thing.
What made you pick it up just now then?
I mean, I thought, you know, it's red, it's going to be really strong, and it is super strong, but I don't know, I just kind of like it. A lot of his painting so far is a little bit muddy and airy, and this gives, it's not a sense of rest really, because it's such a powerful color, but I just am, it's a nice contrast from the rest of what I already have. I don't know what it means. There's nothing red in the reference photo that I'm working from, but when did that ever stop me?
You can make up a meaning as you go, right?
Yeah. In fact, I think I'm just going to put more. I'm going to put red at the bottom too.
Yeah, why not? Our prof is asking, Jordan, are those white strokes on the brown part of the front of the duck opaque, or is it white that it's transparent? I love them. What was I using? It was pretty close to white. It's not exactly white, but it's part of what this brush does. So it has this sort of streaky kind of texture. You can see that on one end it's very dark and opaque, and then it kind of fades as it gets further to the other side. And so I tried that for these little strokes on the front, just to kind of see if I can get some reflection or something and indicate some feathers a little bit. So yeah, it seemed like it worked out okay.
I think it looks really good.
Thank you, birthday twin. For those who don't know,
birthday twins. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, for those who don't know, Laura and I share January 18th as our birthday. So
that's our birthday. Yeah. What time during the day were you born, Jordan?
I think I was born at 1:05 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what does that, do you know your astrology?
I don't really pay attention to it personally, but well, wouldn't that make us both Capricorns then?
Well, we are both. That's both of our, what you call it, the sun sign. That's like our main sign. But then they're based on where you're born, what time you're born. The sky looks different for everyone, and that gives you supposedly a better indication of your personality traits and aptitudes.
Oh no, I've never investigated that at all.
For anyone who cares, I believe, yeah, my moon is Pisces and my rising sign is Leo.
Yeah, that was a different language for me. I don't even know what you said.
The moon is there's comment. WC Lee Art is asking, what is the difference between acrylic varnish and varnish for oil paints? I'm not going to pretend to know, since I don't really use varnishes, but the varnish for oil paint is meant for oil-based paint, and the one for acrylic is meant for acrylic-based paint. They generally do the same types of things, preserving the colors, making it so that you don't have lots of like dirt that accumulates, and if you do have dirt that accumulates, you can restore it. You can, with the paints protected underneath the varnish, kind of like that fixative layer on top that seals everything in. Calm Cuke is asking, Lauryn, I know you like markers. Have you ever tried the Faber-Castell Pitt brush pens and markers? They're India ink based. I feel like they'd be nice on Yupo. I do have a set of the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. I love them a lot. I've never used them on Yupo, and I think that that's a wonderful idea. I'm currently working on a cat commission right now that I'm using mostly Pitt pens for. So I'm excited to see how that turns out.
Gardy Singh says, so I use coffee grind in acrylic painting. Would varnish prevent fungus growth on it?
I imagine so, because you're sealing everything into the varnish. Varnish is that protective layer. So as long as you don't have any moisture or water underneath, I would think that it would keep it from molding. Although, to be honest, I've never had issues with the coffee grounds molding anyways in my paint. It's like once it's in that plastic, the plastic encasing of the acrylic, that kind of helps in protecting it. But again, I don't know. All those paintings that I've used coffee grounds with, the oldest they are is what, 8 years old. So maybe they're not old enough for me to really know yet. Kirchu's saying, does varnish make the colors brighter? So it depends on the varnish you're using, I think. Wow, I don't know why I'm answering all these varnish colors. Please look this stuff up afterwards. I'll do a corrections for myself too, corrections comments. But some make them darker, I think. Some make them lighter. You also have to check for yellowing. That's a big thing about paints aging and varnish aging. Some will make the painting yellowish over time. Let's see, I think I'm gonna make that blue there, or purple. I need some purple in this. Give me some purple. Ooh, there we go. And I'm going over that nice sand acrylic medium. So it's very rough. Art Prof saying, I recommend photographing your paintings before varnishing. They're awful to photograph afterwards. Yeah, doesn't the varnish make it really shiny?
I so wish I could help with the varnish questions. Like, I legitimately do not know. Sorry.
I know. Man, I don't know if I even know anyone in my program that varnishes their paintings. That seems like a thing you should do, right? It seems important, maybe.
Sure.
Maybe we're just not worried about longevity here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yep, that's my catch. Like that's my catchphrase today. I'm like, I don't know, straight up.
I don't know.
I wish I did.
I'm putting more sand on this. I really like this sand there. Just a little bit more over the goose. It's gonna happen.
Okay, you know what? We talked about the smudge tool earlier. Let's see what happens when I use it for this water. Let's see how that goes. It may turn out awful, but it may work okay. Let's see.
We're all about taking risks here, aren't we, Jordan?
Yep, especially when you have an undo button to fix all your problems.
Ah.
That's not too bad, I guess. Yeah.
I'm getting this Naples yellow everywhere. There. I feel like this needs to be brighter here. I got some titanium white right here.
Let's see. Let's push the levels a little bit.
Or maybe it just needs to be bluer. Actually, I'm just going to make it bluer because this brown paint is tending towards the orange color. So I think that will make the contrast really intense. Right along here. There we go.
Okay. Push the value contrast a little bit. I think. Oh, the only thing about this particular duck is I feel like I missed the structure and like the bones and everything, which is that's why I like the line work. That it's so much easier to indicate that. But
yeah, my geese don't have bones.
Your geese don't have bones.
Nope.
Aww.
They're pillows with snake necks.
Say pillows with snake necks? What?
Yes.
That's awesome. I love that description. C. Cantrell says, refresh my memory. Why do you like to use Naples yellow?
I'm not the one that likes Naples yellow. It's Alex that likes Naples yellow. That's part of his. Is Naples yellow in the Zorn palette? I don't even know any of the palettes. And Naples yellow is just a nice neutral lightener color. We just talked in the last stream about how every Naples yellow is different. I can't remember what stream that is. Like every brand has a different Naples yellow. So all I can say is it's like kind of acts as yellow, kind of acts as white, and you can use it for a little bit of both.
Gotcha. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Please join us in the Art Prof Discord right after the stream. We're going to have a stage session where we'll be talking via voice. Please subscribe to the Art Prof YouTube channel. And we also want to say thank you to all of our top Patreon supporters. You guys have been so awesome in supporting us, and you continue to support us, and we really, 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 really appreciate it. So yes. Everyone, thanks for joining, and we'll see you later. Peace.